That's great
Cool.
advice, Chris, that you give. And I think one of the things that I take out of that conversation that you just said, sorry, not conversation, the answer that you've given was sometimes you don't know what's going on, but the experience of those leaders within
Mm,
the company that you guys are in gives you those guidance. And I think it's really important for university students, I think, to get that experience because it's quite different to
mm,
a university classroom where you've got a tutor and a lecturer who tells you what to do with a
mm,
basic rubric, uh, a, a a project review. But at work, it's the
mm,
opposite. How about yourself, Jorel? I'll pass
mm.
it on to you to hear from your
Yeah, sure. I think I know what unit Chris is talking about actually. My first exposure to IT project management was in
experiences.
an academic setting. And we were sort of introduced, the very high level concepts and given a little practical work. And it's pretty much a very big group project that goes on for the whole semester. And you can think about teams and group work as mini projects, and you find similarities between those smaller setting type group work type things and larger scale IT project management work. So really, the connection and how I was able to develop my skills in project management was first, getting exposure to what formal IT project management was
Mm.
through that academic unit. And I must say, it wasn't my favorite one to do during the summer, and it's a lot of very technical concepts to get down in just 6 weeks. So I think I managed, but what I was able to carry onto that into my placement was quite valuable. So having a high level understanding of what IT project management is really allowed me to understand how it works in industry. And when I came across it, um, which I haven't actually um, been part of large IT project management teams per se, but definitely seeing it in industry, you kind of know how it works. And I think the key takeaway for that is understanding you're part of a bigger um, machine, or you're part of a bigger picture. Your work that you're completing goes on to someone else's work, and their work goes on to someone else's work, and it all helps achieve this ongoing goal. And this it just contributes to the ongoing process. And I think being able to understand that first at university, and then seeing it and really solidifying that understanding in industry has really shifted my mindset. And like you said, that was that switch that turned on for me. It really sparked the light bulb and said, "Hey, what I'm doing really is part of a bigger picture." And then the deadlines that I'm meeting, I treat it with more respect. I know in university we can kind of slip between deadlines and say, "Hey, I'll get it to you the week after," or it's okay to be a little bit late on that. But when you understand and really um, respect the deadline as part of a bigger picture, so to speak, then you can kind of carry yourself in a more professional manner, and you become more reliable in that way. And I think I definitely see that throughout my professional development and my experience. I'm becoming someone who, is more reliable in that sense. I deliver things on time, and really I communicate if I'm not able to do that as well. And I think that's another
Mm.
key thing about project management is that communication.
Mm.
The project manager or your immediate manager likes to know when things are arriving, and as hard as it is to kind of say, hey, I might not be able to deliver something on time, they'd rather hear that versus versus you sort of just missing the deadline and saying, hey, here's what you expected, um, sort of a couple hours or days later. So and that's really what I'm seeing is it's carrying over back to my university experience. So again, after this placement, I'm going back to university, and a couple of my peers also have been on that placement journey, and I can see from our interactions and when we're doing group work, we're sort of on the same page now, that we're
Mm.
treating each other in a more professional manner and working more efficiently as a result of it. So really, that whole journey from, you know, learning about project management in an academic setting, finding out what it is in real life, and coming to understand why it is important, has really changed me in a way that has brought me to a more professional way of working. And yeah, that's definitely my experience with that.
I think what you guys have pointed out is, like, coming from my point of view, I think I can relate as well. Funny enough, I also did that unit. Funny enough, I remember that really closely, and I remember one of the assignments, I don't know if you guys had it, was you had to look at failed projects and look at
Yep.
that failed project in a way, in an academic sense. It was a literature review. This was a couple of years back for me, and I remember, I'm not going to name any companies here, but I remember writing about that. And for me as a student, I studied at university for 5 years, quite longer than, of course, Chris and Jorel. But through my 5 years at uni, I got to see a lot of different methodologies. We like to use that as a BA. The methodologies, such as you learn about all these things like agile, waterfall. You learn about lean, the SDLC. If you're a software person, software development lifecycle. If you're a systems person, like information systems person, then you kind of look into the systems development lifecycle, and it's kind of like that point of view. You learn all these basic fundamentals. It's kind of, I remember my first experience. I want to share this really briefly. Was when I started my graduate position in February. One of the things that I remember my manager saying, that you need to work in agile, and then everyone's like, "Oh, I know this concept," and then everyone's like, "I know this methodology," but to work in it is another. It's another picture, because you need those industry exposure. You need to have those hands-on, those experiences to say that, oh, this is, this is really the methodology that you've learned at university for 4 years. Let's be honest. In every industry you go, everywhere they want you to work agile. And agile it's not a common, it is a common BA term or an IT term, but it's actually worked in every single industry, because it's not to do with an IT, it's to do with the way you work. And I like the way that both Chris and Jorel points out is you have to, that you work more professional, and I have to agree on that. But I'm going to move on that question. There's a question that I really wanted to talk about, and now it's the benefits, the benefits of doing a placement. And I think
Where
with
do
the
we
smile
start?
that Jorel's got, where do we start? I'm gonna dance it out
How
into
much
two
time do we have?
topics. As you guys all know, I can talk on for 3 hours, but we're gonna keep it short.
Yeah, no worries. We might give you a longer list than you might expect, but yeah, for sure, it's a good topic.
I think we're gonna put that topic into maybe three of your main benefits that you found, and we're gonna start with the first one, the obvious one, right?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So with networking, especially in the professional environment, I think one thing I take away from networking in my placement experiences is gaining these lifelong mentors. From the managers that I've been able to work with to the team members, and everyone has their expertise and speciality, and being able to talk to them casually or in a work setting really helps you learn a little bit about what they do and expand. I find that my understanding of IT has really expanded by these conversations. I think in my current placement, I'm making it a point to speak to these different specialists in the team to understand what they do. Only spending like an hour of their time to really condense what they do and talk a little bit about the systems that they interact with on a daily basis, and having that knowledge, being able to speak with someone who is professional in the field and an expert in their area is really something that you don't get as much in university. So that's where I probably see networking really shine for me, is being able to have conversations with these people. And you typically hear, like, even after you leave work, and you still have these relationships, and if any openings in terms of jobs come up, then you're more likely to um, to reach out for that, because you sort of have a foot in the door and know these people already. But I think it's important to keep in mind to, again, sort of come at it from the point of just wanting to learn and being able to show your curiosity with these people, because I'm sure that they're just as likely to help you out with that. And they understand, you're a placement student. You're there to learn, you're there to absorb as much as you can. And you just need to ask and really build connections on that sort of working relationship level. That makes sense.
Great advice, Jorel. I really like that approach that you've taken of it's not just about networking. There's a lot of attributes and a lot of details that need to be articulated, if that's the right word. And I think you've done that. I think that placement experience has given you that exposure to not only for one, I'm going out there to network, build my networking capabilities and my LinkedIn profile. There's more to it. And I think Chris can also relate to that. And I think with that industry experience coming from university, it's going to build that profile and build your professional development.
Yeah, and definitely, I've had several experiences with networking events, and you sort of freeze up and don't know what to do. Uh, Everyone's sort of on the same page. We're here to meet new people and grow new networks, but no one really tells you or teaches you how to do that. And it can kind of come off as, again, sort of a little bit transactional. Where you sort of just talk to these people for a few seconds, and you add them to your LinkedIn page. But there's definitely more to that, and there's definitely a side to it where you have to kind of come off as again, real. You have to show your real self and be genuinely interested in meeting new people, and that's how you effectively network. And you can practice that in your placement experiences, because you are working with these people day to day. You sort of have the gradual um, uh, build up to your working relationship. You can start from, hey, how's it going? And then you sort of become lifelong working. I don't know how to describe it.
People.
Like you have that relationship, in place, and you can always come back to it. And it's very special if you are able to maintain it as well in the long run, because these are people that you've met before, and you can draw on for any advice or help.
Awesome. That's a really good, I think, one of the key benefits. I'm going to move it on to Chris with another benefit. What other benefits do you see other than your professional development? Of course, that's your skill level, increasing your industry exposure. And then, of course, the other benefit we've talked about is network. What other benefits do you see in the industry that you've taken on in your placement, Chris?
Cool. All right. I thought I was going to be talking about networking too, but yeah. Look, I think coming at it, coming at the industry experience from a perspective that, like, we are trying to get something out of it ourselves, but we're also trying to contribute at the same time. And I think aligning what you're doing as a student or as someone who's looking for a job or whatever you're doing, aligning yourself in terms of like how it is that you're going to work together and how it is that you can contribute something to the people that you're going to be working with really helps to build like a set of solid it helps you to build your skills, but it also helps to build that sort of a reputation. I think I've never really come at it from the perspective of I'm trying to get a job, like specifically. And I know a lot of people are like, I'm trying to get a job in, whatever field. I personally have come at it from a slightly different angle of like, there's something that I'm sort of working towards. And if the people that I might end up working with are on that journey, and that we can both go through that together, I think that's like, it's a nicer sell, and it feels less like impersonal, I think, as well, because we're talking about values. Then we're talking about like the things that we're both trying to kind of work towards, rather than being like this super transactional kind of thing, like we're doing networking, or like this sort of like we're maintaining these relationships. I think coming at it from that sort of an angle means that you can come across as more genuine as well, and build some of that into all the relationships that you're sort of developing. Melbourne's a city of what, like 4 million people or something like that. But in the data space, I actually have observed like everyone is really connected. Like there's a lot of people that know each other and know almost everyone. When I was at the data experience, like the founders there, when we walk down Collins Street going past all the cafes there's every like 10, 15 meters, there's another person walking up past that they've seen. And because they've like built this reputation of doing good work, doing what they say they're going to do, and I guess maintaining that honesty and that sort of standard of like that standard of quality, all of these people walking past want to say hello and, what are you doing? Like all this sort of stuff. It's really quite tight, and it was nowhere near as big as I thought, like coming from, like I don't originally come from Melbourne. That connectedness kind of surprised me a lot. So I think it's a little bit rambly how I kind of approach that one, but I think those benefits are around how you can build relationships with people, which I think is my approach to the networking, actually, is to not go out to specifically network for the purposes of networking. I don't really approach it in that sort of a way. I kind of come at it from a process of like, hey, what is it that you're doing and what is it that I'm doing? And like, maybe there's some overlap there. And if there is, like, what might we be able to do about it? And I think for me, that's a different mindset to like, I want a job in X or doing Y or that sort of stuff. But yeah, no, I think there's surely other benefits as well that we could talk about, but I think we've ticked off a few of the high level ones.
Definitely agree with what you're saying, Chris. I think we can all agree that industry, the stuff that you guys have done at university, of course, and when I mean done at university, specifically your industry engagement has really, like, coming from the start of the conversation to now, I can feel that, like, for me, I think, I'll give you an example. I think I've known Jorel since his first year, because we ran the table tennis club for quite a number of years at Swindon together, and I kind of see his how should I say, his coming from first year all the way to his third year. I remember this, Jorel. Quote me if I'm wrong, but you used to be the one that is, I'll put the assignment later on. I'll do it later.
Oh yeah.
I'm still going to get that mark. I'm going to get that HD, and then to now.
Bad habits from high school.
But to now, it's a different. I think it's a different point of view that I've seen, that you've, within the 3 years at university, and then adding that 1 year of the placement, I kind of see where your professional growth has developed, and then of course flourished, and of the way that you speak, the professionalism. And the same can said with Chris. I remember a couple of years back when I met you, I remember, and I think to the credit of the industry engagement, this is where we can all agree on, is I remember this day, we were at the train station and I had a chat with Chris, and then I was asking him about the data experience and what is he up to, how's placement experience. And at that time for me, I was kind of, I haven't started my internship at that point. And I remember he was talking all this industry stuff, and I'm like, this is all jargon, even though I'm in the same field and I was in my final, close to my final year. I did not know what I wanted to do at that point in time. And then now it clicked to me 2 years later to see what he's talking about then, and then to hear him, that story from, I think that was around third year, fourth year for myself, which is a couple of years back, from student leaders, really proactive students to proactive industry practitioners. We'll call you practice or associates. Right now, you've come from that to that. It's really impressive, guys. And I've got to say, this now leads to one of the last few questions that I've got for you guys is, what's your advice to other students and graduates out there? Let's start with the student point of view.